Hello and welcome to the premiere episode, the debut episode of Dinner in Hell, the podcast where we talk about history's atrocious underbelly. I'm pretty sure this is going to be our best episode yet. I'm one of your hosts, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, is my co-host, the real Ron Maiden. Ron Maiden, how we doing?
We're doing good, as opposed to other Ron Maidens.
Yeah, we are aware of several pretenders to the throne. I can assure you we do have the real one with us this evening. Here we are, two untrained amateur historians discussing fucked up shit that happened in the past. This side of history doesn't really get touched on that much, and there's so much unbelievable shit that people have done.
Yeah. Like, you hear of things in modern times like different tortures to get information for, like waterboarding and all that crap, but like, this is awful stuff that has happened by actual humans on other humans. It's like, God, what was life like back then to accept that as like, okay, well, he's getting his head chopped off.
Yeah, man. It's fucked up, and we think it's interesting, so we're going to talk about it tonight.
Hey, you going to the beheading tonight? Of course. It's like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, man. Is that like social gatherings? That people would like party at them, like bring picnics and shit. It's like fucked up.
I think an Xerxes is gonna ask me to go with him to the beheading tonight.
Yeah, I imagine there's like places. There's probably like a VIP box, some shit like that. For the special people.
Guaranteed to get blood on your face, splatter. You'll be very close. It's like 2 gold coins, man. Come on.
Yeah, you could like
2.
You could feel the lion's breath as it's tearing a Christian to pieces. Yeah, that would be like, you'd probably have to fucking pre-order to get that shit.
This is best seat. Holy shit.
Well, anyway, we find fucked up shit interesting, and we hope you do too. So tonight, we're going to have a dinner in hell.
Dinner in hell.
Tonight, for dinner, is milk and honey.
All right, well, what's got the milk and honey got to do with torture, Brad?
Yeah, it doesn't sound that bad, does it?
No.
Well, let me tell you about something called scaphism.
Okay.
Scaphism was a method of execution that was practiced in the Achaemenid Persian Empire. What it entailed, more or less, was you would be fastened either in an open boat or canoe, or in some reporting, between 2 of them to form a closed sort of container that you're in. But where milk and honey come into play are they would pour it all over the execution victim's face, all over their body, paying special attention to the orifices, like eyes, nose, ears.
Anywhere on your body that there's a hole.
Yeah, asshole.
Every hole.
Genitalia, all of
Pee hole.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're paying special attention to all of those.
Like,
and then they force feed you that shit too.
Oh yeah, and what happens if I don't eat it, Brad?
They just jack your mouth open and cram it into you, or they prick your eye.
That sounds so awful. This was practiced by Persians. It was also practiced by other people too. But we're just going to talk about like a Persian case in this method.
Yeah, this was where I could find sort of the most direct sources for it. So Plutarch says the king decreed that Mithridates should be put to death in boats, which is scaphism. Which execution is after the following manner. Taking 2 boats framed exactly to fit and answer each other, they lay down in one of them the malefactor that suffers, upon his back, then covering it with the other, and so setting them together that the head, hands, feet of him are left outside, and the rest of his body lies shut up within.
That's awful.
They offer him food, and if he refused to eat it, they force him to do it by pricking his eyes.
So what do you think about the guy, his arms and legs, head is exposed? Like the honey and milk is like a constant everyday thing. It's not like they do it once. They're coming out and making you drink and eat. They're putting like a funnel, like a horn down your mouth, pouring this shit in your stomach. What happens when you eat and ingest? You eventually go poo.
Yeah, you fucking shit all over the place.
So
they don't clean that up either.
These people are fed so they won't die of dehydration and starvation. They want this person to have a long death. And also, when you eat and you're trapped in a box, you're naked, it's gonna fill with the nastiness. And attracting bugs.
Yeah, even more. More bugs.
Like now we got worms, and they're entering through holes.
And fucking eating you alive.
Yeah. And there's a guy outside spinning your boat and listening to you go through that. So
I can't imagine there were like noise canceling headphones or anything either. Could you imagine the fucking screams you'd have to stand there and to endure for not a short time at all?
I'll do anything you want.
Yeah, this lasted days after days.
How many times can you prick an eye before the eye's like deflated and empty and like once you pop an eye, like doesn't air come out like a bubble? I'm just kidding.
I didn't know how to respond to that.
Did you know the earth is round? But yeah, I mean, how many times can you prick an eye to make a guy eat before he's just like, fuck, I don't have any eyes left, man. Like, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
prick something else.
You got 2 times.
Well, you could prick the corner and then the middle and then the other corner. You get like 3 pricks out. No, what you do is you just take a pine needle or something, just go, took. You don't have to like hook it out with like a little poker hook, crochet needle. You just take a little pin and you just go, dink. That's got to suck. I mean, you don't have to stab it.
Yeah, that I imagined would be quite horrifying.
Yeah, you're not popping the eye. You're just like tippy tip.
Well, let's get back to what Plutarch's saying. if I can get through it. Yeah, okay. So he says, then, after he is eaten, they drench him with a mixture of milk and honey, pouring it not only into his mouth, but all over his face. They then keep his face continually turned towards the sun, and it becomes completely covered up and hidden by the multitude of flies that settle on it. I can't even imagine what that must be like. Having them just swarming all over you like that. It's awful.
Dude. They kept the victim's face facing the sun. So the boat wasn't like rotating, like the sun, actually sets at some point. Well, that means someone's out there turning the boat to make sure this man's facing directly at the sun. That was one of the things.
I mean, that's probably almost just as bad for whatever poor bastard got stuck with that job.
Thank you. Because I'm thinking, it's almost like you'd be sentenced to that job. Like, okay, The 2 of you, I got bad news and I got worse news. You, worse news, you're getting killed by scavism, but you're in charge of the rotating of the boat and listening to him scream and beg.
Yeah, and I mean, this is way before the labor laws, so there's probably the same fucker all day.
Yeah.
The same poor bastard out there.
He's like, I don't mind mosquito bites. Because that guy's getting bit. That guy's in the elements too. And it's not like they have maybe they have mosquito screen, like the royalty probably had it over their beds.
They probably just didn't fucking go to places where mosquitoes were.
Yeah. They probably, I just thought of something. That's how my mind works. I put myself in this guy. I feel like I'm laying here. I'm looking up and the sun's roasting my face. And they're putting layers of milk and honey. So I'm thinking my nose is going to be full of honey. Like, unless I blow it out like I'm blowing my nose, it's going to be caked. So what am I doing now? Mouth is wide open. My mouth is agape. And the flies are just going in my mouth like, oh, it's part of the fun. No, this ain't a mouth. Like, they're just coming in my mouth like it's okay. And I'm like, bah, now they're going down my throat. Awful.
Yeah, god damn.
Sorry, man.
Easily.
You asked me to do this. I'm a thinker.
Oh my god. It's like, it's almost unbearable. I'm sitting here squirming the whole time I'm trying to talk about it.
Yeah, I gave myself the chills just now. Like,
Yeah, god. And continuing to get worse. As within the boats, he does what those that eat and drink must needs do, shit it all over the place. Creeping things and vermin spring out of the corruption and rottenness of the excrement, and these, entering the bowels of him, his body is consumed. When the man is manifestly dead, the uppermost boat being taken off, they find his flesh devoured, and swarms of such noisome creatures preying upon and, as it were, growing to his inwards. In this way, Mithridates, after suffering for 17 days, at last expired.
Is it innards or inwards? Did they type it wrong?
They typed it wrong. But it should be innards, but maybe it's translated that way. I have no idea.
So crawling towards his inward innards.
17 fucking days. I can't even imagine what that would have been like. Being basically eaten alive by a million bugs.
You know,
and don't forget the sunburn you would get from
120 July.
Yeah, 120 degree July kept in the sunlight. Wonderful.
100 in Egypt, probably 100 in starts with a P.
Pakistan.
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 Yeah, Pakistan.
Yeah, I mean things might have been a little bit better in Greece, but it's not exactly freezing cold there.
Speaking of Greece, scaphism is Greek, meaning scooped or hollowed out.
Man, I that could refer to the canoes or the logs or the boats. That could refer to the
end of it,
as Plutarch would say, the malefactor who would suffer.
Plutarch, man, he's something, isn't he?
Yeah,
classic Plutarch. Yeah.
Classic Plutarch, my boy.
Isn't that the name of your band in 8th grade, Plutarch?
Classic Plutarch.
Classic Plutarch.
We only liked his early shit.
Thoughts of Plutarch. So we're talking about a canoe with a man in it covered in honey and oil in a stagnant pond, and I looked up the average temperatures for the year, average highs.
Yeah.
Egypt is average temperature of 91. So,
motherfucker.
And in July, the average temperature in Iraq is 120. So let's say this is happening in the summer. Okay, and you're in a swamp in 120, and you just imagine like how the humidity and it's the awfulness, the bugs, that the plants, everything just goes nuts with all that sun and like heat. And then, but people probably heard of bot flies. If you haven't, go ahead and Google bot fly larva,
or don't, because I've seen it. If you're not prepared for it,
it's where they'll lay an egg on you, and the egg hatches, and it crawls into you, and it lives off you, and then crawls out of you. They normally do it on like the rear ends of cows and stuff, like, and horses, like in tropical regions. So you got like bot flies, like
crawling around in your fucking forehead after a couple of days,
in your ear hole. That's amazing.
It's fucking horrifying. The level of torment that comes from something as simple as milk and honey is pretty staggering. I
would like to be like Bill and Ted and take a time machine back and just break out like a can of off and be like, bro, I'm here for you. And I'll be like, tss, tss, don't worry. It's like, it stings. It's like, don't worry. It's going to help you in the long run. But I got bites.
Man, I think the best thing you could do for that sorry bastard is just put him out of his misery.
What if the victim, check this out, this is a little deep, he's lactose intolerant, and you're like, here comes the milk, baby. Open up, prick your eye.
It would just be even more horrifying. But again, that might make them die quicker. The dehydration would set in a lot faster.
What you're really, I think, besides quick death, obviously, what you're really hoping for in that situation, if you're going to be sentenced to escapism, is for delirium to set in fast, because then at least you're like, oh, I'm over here having a picnic, like in your mind, like you don't know, you're out, or you're seeing shit, you're hallucinating, your mind is not there anymore, your like body is like taking you away from all that. Did you know that it happens?
Yeah, I know. You get a certain euphoria after starving for a certain amount of time. I have heard that. Yeah, well, anyway, so we're talking about basically the 4th century BCE, the height of the classical Greek civilization.
Do you think there was canoe rentals back then? Like people went like canoeing for fun? Like, let's canoe the canals.
I know that I don't think people had a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, there was some cool shit going on in China around that time, though.
They were stepping up the crossbow game.
Word. They had the first handheld crossbow.
Single hand, so you could be like dual handheld crossbows.
Yeah, I wonder if crossbows still work if you hold them like with a gangster like sideways.
The arrow like falls out.
Like fuck. Now the ancient police are gonna get me.
Dual handheld crossbows is sweet. You got 2 shots while one dude's still going cranking it.
Yeah, I mean. Well, maybe back then you could have had like a slave to load them as soon as you're done.
There's a guy that's just behind you with no weapon. His job is to hand you. Yeah. Plato was around. Alexander the Great was around.
Yeah, Alexander the Great, who would end the Achaemenid Persian Empire that we're talking about in 330 BCE.
There was another philosopher besides Plato.
Yeah, Aristotle.
Mm-hmm.
And not the big Aristotle, regular Aristotle.
It's not Aristotle.
It could
like
be.
Aeropostale, the clothing store.
But part of the reason why this shit is so interesting to me is
There's
because I can't even place it in a frame of reference for how I would behave in that situation because it's unimaginable levels of horror.
A human did that to a human. Like, that was like, okay, master pricker.
Yeah, like
the royal pricker.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't imagine having any part in this scenario.
What if your dad is the guy that did that? Like, that's my dad. What'd your dad do? Oh, my dad pricks victim's eyes. He gets information. It's crazy.
Yeah, but if you were around then,
want to play crossbows?
Like, if your like friends came over, would they be like afraid of him?
Shit. Or dating that guy's daughter.
Oh yeah.
Like, you pull up on your horse, you know, and you're like, hey, is Sansa home? Come inside. He's got like needles laid out on velvet on the table.
Yeah,
pick the needle. Pick the needle I prick your eye with first. Second eye if she's late from the beheading you're off to.
Yeah, enjoy the beheading. Hey, what kind of,
Brad and I are historians here. We go on Wikipedia. I mean, we have Google. We have like a lot of people go to college and they like spend and get a master's degree in like history and like Greek.
Yeah, we figured that was probably just a waste of time.
Like, come on, like you got Google. Like, why go to college? You have Google. Like, hello, college is over.
I mean, it's true. If you're willing to look for it, the entire world of knowledge is at your fingertips.
I mean,
yeah, I think
we're trying to get it right, doing the best we can. I mean, we're not just coming out here without like researching. We've researched.
Yeah, we have done some degree of research.
We have sources we'll have available if you want to call us out. I mean, feel free to call us out. I mean, we're not like, we're just having fun here.
Yeah, but if you do, just already know that I just don't care that much. I'm trying my best.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's it for Dinner in Hell this evening.
Wherever you are, whatever time it is in your life.
If you're curious about anything that we talked about today, we'll have a few links posted in the show notes. But if you don't see what you're looking for there, then just Google that shit. We got all of this off of Wikipedia. And, you can connect with us via social media. On Twitter, we are at Dinner in Hell Pod. You can email us at dinnerinhellpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud,
Twitter.
I said Twitter.
It's really important to me.
All right, the Twitter again is at Dinner in Hell Pod.
We plan on tweeting a lot.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening and good night.